There we go. It's Eve 2020, June 6th. I am Matterall. Today we're going to do a little tour on some of the new stuff on the test server. It's not in the game yet. It's on the test server. But first we'll do a little bit of our usual news. Tranquility. Looking pretty good. That's a nice arc there. It's happening because we're already at 34,000. That's usually peak during the weekday. But it's the weekend, so it should go up a bit higher. It looks like it's doing exactly that. So 34,500 now online. Yesterday was about 35,500 at its peak. And this is nice. 22,230 was the low. That's a high low. Also, some other news.
There's been a lot of talk about using peak concurrent users as a metric, because this isn't an EVE Online metric. This is an online application service metric that has been applied to you. And there are ACU, average concurrent users. That's a much more valid metric that I think that we may want to pay a lot more attention to.
Average concurrent users, the 26 line there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, PCU is peak concurrent users, the most accounts connected at any one single point in time during that 24-hour period. Average concurrent users averages all of the the peaks across the day.
Yeah, I think the PCU really tells us when most players play. Not when they all play, but you could see the wave. U.S. European time zones. 10,000 players more than the Australian, Russian, Chinese time zone. But they both average out to 26,000? Let's open this up. So over the last 2 years, 31,000. The year and a half before that, 33. Let's do the heyday of all games. 49,000 average. That's the, okay, so 49,000, it seems like, whoa, we're way off that number. You have to keep in mind that 2013, I think, was not only the peak of MMOs, it was also the peak of video games. I believe that was when all these great video games were coming out, and that was when the medium was on fire.
You don't think it is now?
No, I think we're in a new renaissance, yeah, but I think that 2013 was like, you had some amazing games. 2010 to 2013, you had some amazing games coming out, like breakthrough technologies and just player participation and stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on, not only in MMOs, but in video games in general. And then I think from there, you had a rise of the independents.
Once the indie games got involved, things changed.
Right.
The breakthrough of the common internet for everybody, like more than 1 mega.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. All right, we'll go back. Hey, Silly, what's up? All right, 1 second. I lost. Okay, here we go. All right, so you may notice we look a little different. We may sound a little different. We may, this may be a little bit different. It's because I'm on Windows now. Fonsway convinced me to use Windows so that I could stream the actual game and also stream other people's gameplay without a lot of crackling sound and those kinds of problems. OBS for Mac is just too far behind.
If by convince you mean like bullied you with inflammatory rhetoric, then yeah.
Yeah, embarrassed me into it. Okay, so that's the PCU.
All I did was just insult Apple constantly.
Looking at, let's see, looking at the PCU, I'm just going to look for some anomalies instead of the usual. So I won't do a reading of the of Friday's basically most violent systems for 24 hours, but I will look for anomalies. And Empire Region looks pretty normal. Lone Trek, The Forge, Essence. Essence is up there now. It's why would Essence be up there? Where's Veil, the system?
Well, Veil isn't in Essence. Maybe the other one is in Essence. I can check. Oh no, Veil is a Galente system. It may very well be in Essence. I can check.
That would account for Essence starting to jump up there.
Yeah, because Raravas was Amar and Veil's Galente.
Yeah, so Essence squeezes in number 3. That'll probably go up if there are more systems in Essence. Now, all the Triglavian stuff had actually been in Domain, but if it's moving to Essence now, it's starting to spread. So that's pretty interesting.
So interestingly enough, when they selected, when Veil went into Stellar Reconnaissance, when it became, very, very shortly after, like within a few minutes or maybe an hour, a second system, which I'm struggling to remember the name of, also went into reconnaissance. They were both yellow stars, which, as far as we know, are targets for the Triglavians. But it appears that efforts had already begun in Veil. And because of that, the other system went away. And Veil is a dead end. The other system, however, is like a good choke point to hold. So it was interesting that it went down that way. Like, I feel like it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, most violent systems in, let's see here. Most violent systems in nullsec, LXQ, OSY, GE. That's Ethereum, Curse, and Catch, respectively. It's nice to see Curse back in there. Curse used to be most violent area in EVE Online for a long time. That's where you went to fight some of the best players in the game if you wanted to. Losec, Tama, Orhanan, and Kamala. Those are usual low-sec systems with violence in them. And here it is, most violent systems in high-sec. These are the things that are new, is seeing a high-sec system with so much PvP happening in it. And there's Veil at the top for Essence. And you also have Metzeral in Sync Liaison. That's also Galente space. That might be what you were thinking of. And those two systems are racking up more kills than Jita. Each one of those is. So they really are shifting the... CCP is really shifting the amount of PvP that happens in high sec and also the systems or the regions that it's happening in. It's not just Jita and the pathways of industrialists, the industrial supply line. So that's really good to see. And let's look for any big ships now that were destroyed in the last 24 hours. And we can see that, there's another. Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of this. We talked about this yesterday, and I'll just reiterate. You're seeing a lot of industrialists with huge paydays get blown up because they're picking up loot and getting attacked while they pick up the loot. And they're, in some cases, being destroyed, like this guy here. Well, this may be different. This is in Delve. You have an MPC Corporation pilot. This was yesterday, so we already covered that one. There are only 2 ships blown up over 10 billion, and one of them was in Genesis, and it was Pillage Rats. That's a hilarious flag. Looks like a pirate. We'll click on that.
Arzani, Arzanni, was the system that went into recon at the same time as Veil. It's Yellow Sun. So if you look at that on the map, you'll see that is an actual relevant system in terms of transit, as opposed to Veil, which is a dead end.
Arzani, huh? Let's check that real quick. I think I just passed it. Arzani and Khanid?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Look at how that's like positioned on the map, and you can see it's like particularly relevant whereas Veil is just one in, one out.
Yeah, that's going to be a pain for people.
So that went Edencom Fortress. So Arzani is done. Like it popped the same time as Veil. Everybody jumped on Veil. Arzani got ignored. Edencom just farmed it all the way up to Edencom Fortress, and it's just locked there now, and that's it. So it's entirely possible. So now we're going into conjecture because this has not been confirmed. It's possible that every system that gets contested only ends in one of two states. Either a minor victory, in which case the invasion goes away and some rats are left behind, or a full victory, final liminality or Edencom Fortress. And it's possible that once the system reaches one of those final states, that's it. Like, we're only going to get one shot at each system. I don't think that the systems are going to get fought over a second time.
Wow. So we are maybe this is conjecture, at the beginning of reshaping the security landscape of HiSec.
Yeah, they've been telling us that our decisions are going to matter and we're going to decide what EVE looks like and all this stuff. And that could have taken any number of forms. They haven't told us that this is it, but I think this is it.
Oh, wow. That's not, of all the ways to think about it, we hadn't considered that. And that would be a key system, Arzani. So that's secure. It's going to stay HiSec.
Yeah, that one's not going to change unless Edencom intends to further change systems that they've taken over, then this system is done.
Yeah. Whoa, there are some key systems then to look at. Because if this had gone the other way, this would really disrupt travel in all these areas.
Look how close it is. It's close to Head GP. It's right on the border of Empire Space and Null. Yeah. It is the last HiSec stop. You see, it creates a HiSec route, through Conid, coming up from the right and up the top. That's a HiSec route. But if that system is low-sec, it breaks that HiSec route in half.
Well, you still would be able to get to, I think the route is this way. Let's look at, if we look at how many people travel this, you'll see the route. If you look at jumps, you can see the route to civilization, basically, because the more yellow it is, the more jumps are happening there. So Head GP would have been okay. What you may have seen is Canid would have been cut off from Head GP for the most part, unless you went this way. But Quarius would have been in trouble. That would have really disrupted Canid to Quarius traffic.
Yeah, that's done. It's going to remain HiSec as far as we can tell.
Yeah. Oh, and also Corazor, right, which goes to Amar. It doesn't travel through here because you already see two systems that are low-sec. So this is, you see these really red areas here. That doesn't go any further because it runs into low-sec. So, yeah, but over here, this yellow area, that would have been, that's disrupted from the rest of Canid and going into Iridia. So, well, I can see why they turned that, they put that system up for grabs because it's right next to a bunch of low-sec. Anyway, that's a good point.
And we don't know which systems are going to be up for contest. If it's going to be some Empire systems or all Empire systems, we have absolutely no clue if they're being selected at random from a list, or just it's all up in the air.
Yeah, it's wild. Stain might get their low-sec gate after all, says Welsh.
Well, systems end up in null-sec. When systems are taken by the Triglavians, they end up at 0.0 of some sort. In the case of Raravas, it ended up as minus 1.0 all the way down. Of course, no player sovereignty can be taken in these systems. They're NPC systems, but there is a full absence of Concord and security status relevance. No security status hits, no Concord response, no gate guns.
Yeah. See, Stain is nowhere near HiSec, so having a HiSec or low-sec gate to Stain is just, it's surrounded by null-sec on all sides, so there's no way.
So when people talk about a low-sec gate to Stain, what they're asking for is an additional link to be created, not the security of an existing system to be changed. So when people now during the invasions keep joking about, gate to stay in, like they're not looking at the map, like they're not realizing you can't. So the invasion's mechanics do not raise the security level of any solar systems. They are maintaining the security. In fact, so this was what I was saying initially when invasions were first being, when Chapter 3 was first coming out. But this was actually clarified on the forums by Convict yesterday. He's out and out, like directly said, Edencom is attempting to maintain the status quo. Supporting Edencom keeps the security status precisely the same as what it is. There is no mechanic that they're adding to the game to raise security status. And but the Triglavians are attempting to remove Concord. So that is the fight. It is the fight between status quo and 0.0.
Mm-hmm. And the net result for gameplay is a system that is taken over by Triglavians, and where Concord, the police force, is removed. You have guilt-free brawling in that system without standings drops. You can kill pods without worrying about it, and you can fight all you want. And so high-sec becomes a little bit more lawless in those areas. But
yeah, and someone said trig gate guns, which is true. While the system is low-sec and owned by the Triglavians, the gate guns are disintegrators. However, once it becomes null-sec, there are no gate guns.
They just go away. Yeah. So then it becomes a PvP area. Cool. All right. Well, Arzani settled business, and it seems like Edencom is doing pretty well, right?
So Edencom is taking most of the systems. Most of the systems that are up for contention end up being Edencom fortresses. This is to be expected. We don't want half of Empire space to become, NPC null. Like, that's not the goal here. The goal is for the cosmonauts to pick strategic targets and say these systems are the ones that we're going to focus on, and all the rest you can have.
Let's make sure people understand there's two sides in this conflict. There is the law and order side of Edencom, which keeps everything the same, and there is the chaos agent Triglavians, which will take a system and throw security out, and then players can do whatever they want in it, at least to each other and stuff. So those are the two sides, and Edencom has been doing pretty well capturing the ones that are the systems that are up for grabs.
So it's you touch on an important point there. The space being created by the final liminality systems, and even the increasing liminality systems, is unique space in EVE Online. It is a space without security status, without Concord, and without gate guns, right? That exists in other places. But it's also a place with no sinos, so there's no capitals. This is subcap only, no bushes, no bombs, and no bubbles. It is just pure subcap combat without security, without any sort of policing and any sort of special, extra strong tools. It is just a bunch of ships brawling in the whole entire solar system.
Yeah. That's so weird, right? It's like a combination of different characteristics of space. You have some wormhole aspects, you have some low-sec aspects, and you have some null-sec aspects, and of course a bunch of high-sec aspects. And so it's a weird fusion of different characteristics of secure space.
And we will see where it ends up, what state it remains in once the invasion is through. What they decide to allow and disallow, if they keep it the same, if they hard code the security changes and change more things. Like, they could change literally everything. They could change what spawn, the types of, rocks and rats that spawn in the system if they make it, actual null-sec. All of these rules can be changed. But at the moment, this is the kind of space that it represents, a unique fighting space that doesn't exist anywhere else. Because, like, it's closest to wormhole space, but it's got gates.
Yeah, and it doesn't collapse. Well, it's got gates now. I mean, we saw in the video that something happens to gates. We'll see.
Yeah, that's so. I really, really, really hope that's not just a tease for the cinematic, because it appears that the writing on the sun was a tease for the cinematic.
Oh, I took the writing as symbolic, but I don't know. And I do think that everything in the game that they showed, in the video, in the trailer that they showed, from what I heard, is a mechanics change. So I think that gate going down or being dismantled over time, I think that's probably likely to be an actual mechanic. Okay, so
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Let's just look at this one kill here by these guys called the pillage rats. I just want to see, blueprints. So this person has probably picked up something. All these blueprints were probably in a structure. You can see the cans right there. And they were probably picked up as this guy was trying to make a break for it with the loot. And he got shot. And everybody, wow, that's really poor choice of words these days. That had nothing to do with real life. And so on his way out, he got attacked by other pirates who took it away from him, but it ended up exploding his ship. And that's what's going to happen a lot as people try to loot things and get killed in the process. I just can't get around it. Anyway, you all know what I mean. All right, so that's it for the 10 billion kills. And what we want to do is more of a special program since it's Saturday, and we're going to have a really cool demonstration of some of the new stuff that's on test server. Fonsway here is generously donating some time to demonstrate some of the stuff that's on there.
Yeah, I've got the Skybreaker loaded up on Singularity. The Skybreaker is the new Edencom frigate that uses the Voltron projector weapon. This is a new ship line that currently includes a frigate, a cruiser, and a battleship, and a brand new weapon system. These ships are designed to be the inverse of the Triglavians. So there are certain similarities, and there are certain things that are completely the opposite. For instance, these are shield ships instead of armor. That is a difference. They use a single module weapon system, that is a similarity. They are multi-target focused as opposed to single target focused. So that is another difference. The fitting is extremely simplified. The frigate and the cruiser have a single high slot. Just put the gun in, done. The battleship has one utility high. That's it. So these things are not going to be particularly difficult to configure. Hopefully they won't be all that expensive either after the initial wave. Convict announced yesterday that we are going to be receiving the skill books as gifts if your account is an Omega. So you'll be able to start training these hopefully before the ships are released. So once they're out there in the wild, people can begin flying them immediately. And the ships themselves and the materials and everything required to create them will be released in a following event. So there will be one event that releases the skills, and then a second one that actually releases the ships. We will be using the ships to fight off rogue drones that are attacking Edencom facilities.
Can you fire up your
my screen share?
Your screen share? Let me know when that's ready. I was just showing the article that came out to display some of the stuff. Where's my... Let's get rid of that. When you're ready, we'll move over to that. Yeah. So just showing you guys that there's this gathering storm and lightning strikes, and this is a new event that's happening on the 15th of this month through the 29th. And you'll see that there's going to be new ships, new weaponry, new, I think the Voltron projector weapons. So they're arcing Voltron projection weapons. Yeah. That's a lightning. We'll see that in just a minute. Those come from Edencom ships, which I think were actually built by Upwell. So
I believe that this is kind of a messaging thing from CCP, as in these were originally designed. They were using the Upwell name, and I think they kind of pivoted and made them Edencom at some point, because they say both things on them. But it's possible that it was always intended to include both. I think this was a pivot
away from Upwell to Edencom.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the force that you can fight for, holding down civilization in EVE Online. That's pretty cool. I think there's so many interesting layers to this. All the stuff they're doing right now, the security work they're doing per system, the faction war. Like, do you want to fight for empires instead of other players? Well, there's an opportunity to do that on 2 levels now. There used to only be 1. And I should say there was 3 levels if you include incursions, right? Incursions were vampires that are raiding different areas, and you can go and fight them, to get loot, but also in the name of civilization and to save worlds that are being made victim to vampires. So that's one. The other one is faction war, which allows you to fight for one side or another of the empires. There's 2 different faction wars going on at the same time. And then this now is kind of like that pick. Do you want to help aliens invade New Eden, or do you want to defend Concord's grip on security? So there's different levels now of ways to participate in ongoing conflicts. There used to be, there was a shortage of this sort of thing. So you had groups create their own versions of pick a side, like red versus blue, for instance. And that was players created their own 2 warring corporations that were in an eternal struggle. So anytime you logged in, you would go looking for a war target. And they did that so that people could get in and just, brawl and then get out. So it was kind of a casual way to play EVE Online if you wanted to PvP.
So I've got my screen share up, by the way.
Okay, great. Let's go to that. I'll turn that on here.
So we're looking at, I'll see when it comes up on the stream. All right, so we're looking at the Skybreaker, which is the frigate.
Mm-hmm.
Simplest one. We're going to take it into a tier 1 electrical abyss site because it's easy, and I just want to show it to people like in action. Even though this may not be an abyss ship, and I'll talk about that as we go through it. First, let me grab. There's the filaments. So I'll describe the ship a little bit and the weapon system. So you'll note that my skills here. So I maxed everything out. I have like a ton of skill points on Singularity, so I dumped everything in. I'm using the faction gun on the ship, which means I only need to unlock the Tech 2 ammo with level 1 specialization. The other levels don't give me more damage, so this is maxed out. Everything else is maxed out. This skill here, Voltron Power Amplification, is bugged. It's supposed to require Voltron projector operation as a prerequisite, but they screwed it up on Singularity. It uses like an old version of the skill, so it's locked. So this is 15% damage that I don't have. So I'm 15% under max. You'll see the ship is configured with 3 damage mods. There's only a Tech 2 right now in Singularity. That's it. There's no Compact or Tech 1 or Faction. But I'm using all 3. So max damage here. I'm using the Faction gun, max damage there. And all my skills are max, minus 15%. So the number we see is 65.9 DPS, 272 per strike, with a cycle time of... sorry.
No, that's all right.
Attributes. Cycle time, rate of fire, 4.13 seconds. Base 6, skills make it faster. So we're not going to do a lot of damage to individual targets. This number here, this is the individual target damage. The way that this weapon functions is that it hits multiple targets as opposed to disintegrators. Disintegrators ramp up on a single target. This will hit up to 5 total targets that are within range. The way that the system works is it will pick 4 valid targets that are within 10 kilometers of the strike point. So if your range is 40 and you shoot at something 40 away, then everything that is within 10 of the thing that's 40 away from you is a valid target. In HiSec, it will not. It will obey security. It will obey safety settings. So if you have safety green, it'll only shoot people who don't give you a suspect timer. If you have safety yellow, it'll only shoot people who don't give you a criminal timer. If you have safety red, it'll shoot at anyone. It'll chain to drones. It'll chain to structures that can be hit. Anything that's a valid target, including your allies. So like if you're safety red and you're in fleet with someone, it'll hit them and it'll concord you. If you're in nullsec, then there's no concord, but it will still hit your friends. So this requires some finesse to use properly. So the maximum damage that we're going to see is 5 times what we see on the fitting screen. So 65.9, well, actually, 15% higher than that because I'm missing 15%. So let's do some quick math. It's about 75 DPS. But let's just do it exactly. So we're going to get 75.8 DPS out of this. And up to 1,360 damage per volley if we hit 5 people. But it's never going to be more than 2. I'm sorry. There, 312.8 per volley times 5. So that's how much damage we can get per volley. And our DPS, our overall DPS output is 380, just under 380 DPS. So for a single ship to put out that much damage, that is very handy, especially at the ranges that we're talking about. However, the maximum per target is still very low. So this is not like an alpha strike, single ship kind of solution. This is only going to be used in groups. And it will definitely behoove the targets of these weapons to split up and not just clump up in a ball.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go right now into Abyss and see how this works. It's not going to work very well. It may not even make it out for all I know because it's not designed for that. But just to show off how it functions and what it does, that's what we're going to do.
Awesome. Thanks. I think
sorry, go ahead.
Just a couple of things to keep in mind as we go into this, and that is the design of this ship, how it is different from Triglavians. Keep that in mind. It seems these two ships they're in a bit of a dance where the Triglavians work a certain way, where the longer they target you, the more damage they do to a single target, and this one is almost the opposite. And Francois will talk all about that sort of thing, but just keep that in mind, how different it is to Triglavians and how opposite it is.
Yep. It is very difficult to find a good PvE usage for these. These are going to be primarily PvP ships as far as I can tell. The weapon damage, application, and range was designed after guided missiles. So for anyone that isn't aware of what that means, there's 2 kinds of missiles for every size, for small, medium, and large. So for smalls, you have rockets and light missiles. Rockets are unguided, short range, high damage. Light missiles are guided. So those are long range, slightly lower damage. And your mediums are going to be heavy missiles versus heavy assault missiles, and your larges are cruise missiles versus torpedoes. So this ship is firing what really, really looks a lot like light missiles. So that is why, like, the cruiser version of this, which fires what amounts to heavy missiles, is really bad in Abyss, because you should not bring heavy missiles to Abyss. It's short range, application focused, damage and application. So let's fire this up.
When you say it looks like a missile, you're talking about like about the same amount of damage, about the same amount of utility.
I'm talking the behavior in terms of application and range and cumulative damage.
Right.
So the cumulative damage is going to be similar to guided missiles, and it's going to hit about as far out, and it's going to apply about as well. For instance, I can be precise. So here's the info.
So people who might not know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just trying to bring the crowd along that may not know how missiles work and all that kind of stuff. A missile is shot. It takes time to get to the target. When it hits the target, it explodes, which creates splash damage. And there's all kinds of mitigating factors to that. And one is like, how fast was the ship going? How small was it? These kinds of things. So when he says damage application, he's talking about these characteristics about how much damage is actually applied rather than how much is theoretically possible.
Yeah. The application is what reduces the amount that you actually put on the target. So in the case of turrets, there's tracking and SIG and speed and all that stuff. In missiles, there's only 2 things. There's the speed, how fast your explosion expands over space, and how tight that explosion is, how much space it takes up. So the tighter an explosion, the more easily it can apply to a small target. And the faster an explosion, the better it can apply to a faster target. So it literally just compares your explosion velocity to the target velocity and your explosion radius to the target radius, sig. That's it. So these numbers here, this 214 and 33, Tech 2 light missiles are the exact same explosion velocity, 214, and their explosion radius is about 51. Yeah, so these are very similar to that.
Think of the Millennial Falcon coming out of the, spoiler here for Return of the Jedi, coming out of the exploding Death Star, right? So that velocity of the ship versus the velocity of the explosion. So it actually, the ship outruns the explosion. That's some of the things that you should be visualizing when he's talking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I just, I put myself in a fleet there. So my activate for fleet button just lit up. So now I can pop this abyssal trace.
What it's showing you now is how to get into abyssal space, which is where we're going. This doesn't have to do with the ship particularly.
Yeah, this is just our little proving ground for the ship, how we're going to test it out. So when you open up an abyssal trace, it creates this gate in space next to your ship.
Yeah, he just opened up his own personal wormhole, basically.
So now I'm going to activate this, and it's going to jump me into the abyss site. I'm going to bring up Peld, because the people deserve to see how much damage is happening. So once we jump in, I have a full minute before the rats start shooting at me, so I'll have time to get Peld set up.
Okay. We don't have audio, unfortunately, for... but there's some great audio associated with this area.
Okay. So here's my little... Oh, yeah, there's the damage meter. Okay. So now we see this room is a bunch of frigates, Spark, Needle, Tesla. So I'm going to be able to hit all of these at the same time. Problem is, they're very fast. So they're going to dodge a lot of my damage. So I'm going to select now the highest damage ammo I have. The electro. Oh, I meant to go over the ammo. I'll go after that. I'll go over that after the site.
Mm-hmm.
See how all of them took hits at the same time?
Yeah.
So I'm just wrecking all of these guys all at the same time. And you can see my output, my peak was 249, 250 damage per second, which is not bad for a frigate. Problem is, my DPS per target never goes over 65. And once I get that extra skill, 75.
Can you zoom in a little bit? Just get a look at that lightning flash.
Oh, yeah, that's important. That's important.
The chain lightning.
See, one of the rats that I didn't even target died.
So the best practice here is you want to let them ball up because you're very effective with a ball, but you're not effective one-on-one with this ship.
That's correct. And again, in Abyss, this thing is... Maybe the frigate can do well because light missiles are relevant here, but the cruiser is really bad. There you see, I just killed the cache too.
And they're all dying at the exact same rate because the exact same amount of damage is being applied to each of them.
Yeah, because they're all the same size, they all move the same speed, so I'm hitting them for the same amount every time.
One thing people might think is like, well, if your lightning bolt is going to lose power as it hits the next one and then the next one and then the next one, is that the case with this thing?
Nope. It hits what you see on the fitting screen is the precise amount that each strike is for. So it's going to be 272 per strike and 300 and some odd when I get that other skill when they repair that. So I guess I can talk about the ammo. So there's 6 different kinds of ammo here. There are 2 Tech 2 ammos and 4 Tech 1 ammos. The Tech 2 ammos are very simple. They have reduced application. They're 50-50 EM kinetic damage. One is long range, low damage. One is short range, high damage. That's it for Tech 2. The Tech 1, there's 4 of them. There's also a short range and a long range. And each one, the short range one and the long range one, each have a type that is stilted towards EM and a type that is stilted towards kinetic. So there's short range kinetic, short range EM, long range kinetic, long range EM for Tech 1. And that's it. And then you have the 2 Tech 2s. So there's only 6 ammo types. Just remembering the names is going to be
oh yeah, the whole
it's going to be weird. So I'll actually go through the names because they do make sense. Oh, I should start shooting again. Like I'm doing a tier 1. It pretty much doesn't matter at all. Nah, I mean CC overpowered, lots of time, etc. There, everything just died. I'm done. One more room. So you can see. So electro. Actually, I'll go to the gun to show info on the gun used with. So here, electro punch and strike snipe. Which one do you think is long range, and which one do you think is the short range?
Yeah, punch and snipe for your clues.
Yeah. So that's pretty simple. And then you have Blast Shot, Galva Surge, Mesmaflux, and Slam Bolt. So the top 2 here, Blast Shot and Galva Surge, are the short range. So Blast Shot is kinetic, Galva Surge is EM, and these 2 are the long range. Mesmerflux is the EM, and Slam Bolt is the kinetic. But the Tech 2 ammo is, as you see, I'm mousing over, precisely 50-50 EM kinetic.
Those are the damage types. Question, does it destroy Rex too?
Does not destroy Rex.
Does not destroy Rex.
I tested that. So this room, I might not beat this room. Let's see. Because these are tough rats that have remote reps. So this is a spider tank room.
So they're healing each other basically while you're trying to apply damage.
So the problem is my maximum output to any one target is only 60 DPS. And I don't know if that can outdo their spider reps. It looks like it's doing it. It looks like it's working.
Remember, the bad tactic here is if you're PvPing is to separate somebody out and attack them because you don't do very much damage. It's when they're in a cluster that's when you're most effective. For each one of those, you're going to do more damage because the electricity almost revs itself up. Am I right about that character? Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. They're making a triangle. They fly in a triangle.
Oh yeah, they're making a triangle. And you can see their like green gold remote reps going between each other, and you can also see my my lightning chaining.
Reminds me of there was one Alliance tournament where AAA they were pretty strong at the time, and these 3 AAA guys got into a triangle and made a big A, and they flew at the same exact velocity, so the A was traveling across the screen.
Blue Angels, yeah.
Yeah, Blue Angel stuff. Yeah. AAA in the Alliance tournament.
So you see how slow these are going down because they're all remote repping. And you can even watch them remote rep, like they just got a tick. I guess I should turn my shield booster on? I don't know, whatever.
I can see that blue-green mixture. They're hitting nearly at the same time.
Yeah. So if you look closely, I haven't examined this yet, but so the Voltron beam is always that blue electricity, but it has a second tone on it. All the different ammos, there's like a yellow, a red, a green. I haven't looked too closely yet.
Oh, interesting. So it's the standard blue with a mixture of a different color depending on the ammo.
Yeah. Oh, look, they're almost dead.
So you can see what kind of ammo is being used against you.
Yes, you can see what someone is shooting at you. You can see what you're shooting, etc. So the only reason these didn't die at the exact same time is because the remote reps made them uneven.
So their rep was actually uneven, but not the damage that you were doing.
Right. Like they were choosing, where their reps were going. So they were shifting those around. But my damage was consistent the entire time. And that's it. And we're done. So I believe that this Tech 1 hull will be comfortable, I would say, if you bring 3 ships. So obviously you can solo tier 1, but this is blingy as shit. Like this, look at what I'm wearing on this. This is like, high-end invols, high-end AV, high-end shield booster, high-end gun, max skills.
Nearly best case scenario.
Yeah, and I've got a high grade crystal pod.
Oh,
So like, yeah, this is entirely. So there are a couple of things about this ship that make it very strong. If we look at the bonuses here, we see not only does it have 25% bonus to the weapon, obviously, but it's got a 30% shield resist bonus. That's insane. Every other resist bonus in the game on a hull is 4% per level for a total of 20%. This is 6% per level for a total of 30%. It is half again as good as any other bonus in the game. So these are my base. These are my base resists. It's obscene. This is a shield. This is a shield ship with 44% EM resist naturally with nothing fit. Like here, I'll simulate it.
no EM hole.
Yeah, look at that. These are my actual resists with no resist mods on. This is crazy. It also has a ton of shield raw HP for a frigate, for a cruiser, for a battleship, the three ships.
You have to read the number. It's probably too small for people to read.
So this is 1,000 shield hit point, 1,000 shield hit points raw before you put anything on it, on a frigate. Like this is good.
What's this ship called? The frigate?
This is called the Skybreaker.
Skybreaker.
The Skybreaker is the frigate. The cruiser is called the Stormbringer, and the battleship is called the Thunderchild.
I had a question about the battleship. We'll get to the battleship in a bit.
Yeah, I can dock up and show people the other ships. Like so this one flies in Abyss. I think this can compare to Hawks, for instance, in Dark Sights. So this is going to perform because a Hawk is firing Tech 2 missiles with 214 meters per second, explosion velocity and 51 meters per second explosion radius. This is shooting the same explosion velocity, and it's a third better explosion radius. It's incredible. So these will apply well if you bring 3 of them into Abyss. Up to tier 3, I would say it would do well. This is a Tech 1 hull. Do not expect it to do tier 5, even though it's got the sick resist bonus, which is pretty ridiculous. When they make Tech 2 versions of these, I would say that may very well end up in tier 5. I'm just going to dock up back at the station so that I can show people the cruiser and the battleship. I should show the animations there.
Oh yeah, these are great. They look like insects. We were talking about how they're kind of butterfly insects. They have antennas. They have little spikes, like insects do, and the animations for them are really complex.
You can see.
Yeah.
And the sounds are incredible. Like all the mechanical, like transformer sounds as it opens up and closes. It's crazy.
I'm going to try to arrange for close-ups in just a second.
Yeah. So Olmeca is saying he's not sure whether the cruiser would be good for tier 5. I can answer him directly. The cruiser is not good for tier 5. It's bad. So these again, I'll repeat because some people may have missed it. These weapons were designed to behave, to apply and have range similar to guided missiles. So light missiles, heavy missiles, and cruise missiles, not the high damage ones. So they're not gonna be so great for Abyss. So the small ones are gonna be all right for Abyss. The medium ones are not. If they decide in the future to make a short range version that compares to unguided missiles, then we can talk about the cruiser potentially going to Abyss, maybe. But until then, it does not. So let's fire up the cruiser, which doesn't have a skin yet. It's over here. I took it into Abyss just to be sure, and I was right. It does not survive. Signal's in chat. CCP Signal, who has worked. CCP Signal is in chat, who has worked on these on these weapons, and we have him to thank for their existence, in addition to Rise and obviously the rest of the team. So this is the cruiser. You can see it's kind of black. It doesn't really have a real skin yet, but it looks very vaguely similar to the frigate. The fitting is similar as well. It's just got the one turret. It's got 6 mids, which is really nice, but it's got the same 3 lows that the frigate does. Same bonuses, same exact bonuses. 5% per level, 25% total damage, 6% per level, 30% total resistances. It does not do tier 5 abyss, but again, this may be very useful in PvP.
It also doesn't have a skin right now.
Yeah, so the range, I'll show people the range on these because the range is actually really impressive. So we'll go through the different ammos. So if we use the shortest range ammo, the Electro Punch, which is the Tech 2 super short range, then we're getting 36 kilometers with the shortest range ammo, which is really nice. Then we can go to the other short range non-Tech 2, which will do the same everything as each other except the balance of damage. And now we're doing 54 kilometers instead of 36. Then we go to the slightly longer. Now we're hitting at 109. And when we put in the sniper ammo, 131 range. So this reaches out and touches you.
Oh, thoughtful.
Yeah. So that's the cruiser, and the frigate and the cruiser have no drones. Battleship has a 25 M3 drone bay, 25 megabits bandwidth. That's it. Sorry, Olmeca. Olmeca wants to fly these ships, but he has 1 Eve. So let's fire up the battleship because the battleship has a skin and it looks cool. And that's the Thunder Child.
Oh, thing's gorgeous.
It just looks angry.
It looks like a friendly butterfly to me.
Look at that face. That face, it wants you dead. It's like a cross between like a praying mantis and a Cylon.
Do some butterflies want you dead? No, but it's wing structures I'm looking at. But yeah, it actually feels like it really has like a thorax, an abdomen.
Yeah. You can clearly see that here. Like these all look pretty insectoid. So I'm going to undock this because this one has a skin, so you can actually see the animations and stuff.
Point to its guns so that people could take.
Yeah, when we're in space, I'll point it out, and I'll show how the guns like they fold in and stuff when you warp and things. Wrecks everywhere. Singularity.
People testing things out. It's a big wreck you're flying through.
So I'm warping now, so you're gonna see as soon as we're out of this debris cloud, you'll see clearer. But yeah, those wings are gonna articulate and move around, and the gun is this gigantic spiky thing on the top, on the back over here,
and on the
bottom. Yeah, and the bottom over there. So the gun shows up on the top and the bottom. The beam can emit. Oh, and there you see it's folding. The spikes come in, the weapons close up, it vents all that blue steam.
So it tightens
all
up.
The colors
flight.
change.
Yeah, it tightens up for flight, it looks like.
And all these antennae here like kind of fold in and retract. So now we're going to see that all come out again. Turn off my UI. We don't need that.
Oh, I love that. This feels like it's opening its back up,
Yeah, and you see it's all venting again, and it's so nice. It's so nice.
Yeah, everything about this ship line is it's inventive, it's interesting, and it looks great. That's just a lot to like here. The current devs at CCP are amazing. I've been here a long time, and they're really showing me something.
I mean, the art dudes just killed it. Like, they just killed it. Like, look at this.
Yeah, that's them. It's also some technology advances. And a lot of it, too, is the conceptualization of the ship itself, and then the execution on making it actually work, which I think is what Signal is a big part of, is making this thing actually work. You can design anything you want, but if it You don't have someone that can put it together and make it work.
So I'm gonna show everybody the animations again now, with the good lighting and no debris. There we go. All folding up, closing up. Flight mode.
And to me, it just looks like yoga. Like this thing knows yoga.
Right? So yeah, so let's look at the battleship a little bit. So we've got, so that's with no damage mods. I should simulate it with damage mods.
I'll work on getting a close-up on your fitting window.
Yeah. There. So this is, let's get the right ammo in. Yeah. So the battleship will volley up to 5 targets each for 3,045 damage, 483 DPS, plus 15% when we have that skill. Oh, the attack animation. If so, I can log another. Oh, I can launch drones. I can launch drones on this ship and shoot them. And then we can see the attack animation because Signal wants us to show it. So because there's only one gun, but you see it's the models on the top and the bottom because it can emit the the arc from either the top or the bottom of the ship. See, my drones are damaged because I was already testing on them.
Drones have been working.
All right, so let's lock up some of these drones. Don't worry, locking small light drones in a battleship doesn't take a day. There we go. All right, so let's zoom in on the guns. Turn off the UI.
Wow.
Oh, see how the spikes open up even more. It's pretty neat. I like it. So that's I think that's a good preview of these guys.
Yeah, can you show us the fitting screen one more time? And is there any information you left back there?
I think I covered the ammo, I covered the bonuses, I covered the general look and feel of the ship. I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say at this point in time. Covered the fact that it hits your friendlies, covered the arcing rules, the damage. What else? What else can you think of?
Well, I just want to emphasize, like, this is a ship that's meant for a certain kind of combat. Where would it not work, for instance?
Well, this is not going to... The cruiser's not going to work in Abyss. Anytime single target damage is absolutely required, it's not going to be very good. When you want alpha, this is not your friend. This is for... I don't think you're going to see fleets of these. You're going to see these in fleets.
So it's a role in a fleet.
Yeah, like you will have some of these, like a cluster of these in a fleet firing on the enemy.
Like you might see 2 or 3 of these going after Logi or something, since Logi tend to ball up. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So these can be used to disrupt an enemy fleet because Logi right now is like, I'm taking damage. I'm going to broadcast. Logi will rep me. And then you introduce Voltron projectors, and all of a sudden there's 10 people at the same time saying, I'm taking damage. I'm going to broadcast. Logi will rep me. And that's not how Logi works.
Right. That's one of the things that newer players do is they panic when they get hit by a bomb because they think they're taking damage, and they're told over and over again, as soon as you start taking damage, call out for repairs. But if everybody's taking damage from a bomb at the same time, then everybody's calling for repairs at the same time. The logistics get overwhelmed and don't know who to like put repairs on.
Yeah,
And this might have that same effect.
Yeah, this can create some battlefield haze that makes it difficult to know who is truly the primary target for for reps or anything else.
But it also feels like this is a small gang ship as opposed to a large fleet doctrine of any sort. You would do better with a couple guys, a couple friends, going against bigger numbers.
We have strayed outside of my area of expertise. Mm-hmm. I will not guess at where FCs are going to try to employ these ships, but
we do want to know they want. You're not going to orbit an FC in this thing with 20 of them. You'll wipe out the FC.
Well, it's 10 kilometers from the target.
Okay, so if it's longer range, then
yeah. So if you're shooting at something 100 kilometers away, you could be right next to your buddies, and it's not going to hit them. But if you're shooting at something right in front of your face, then yeah, it's going to chain to your friends.
But if the opposite, if the enemy is balled up around an FC, and you shoot the FC, you're going to see some damage to everybody in that area, or 5 people per shot. That could be interesting. It seems like it wants people to spread out, which again is the opposite of Triglavian, which is concentrate your fire for a longer time. This is more concentrate on a group rather than one target.
Yeah, if you are facing these, you definitely want to spread out. And right now, I don't know if people know how to do that in EVE Online. Like, people know how to orbit FC at 500.
So I think it's going to create some, I mean, it's a beautiful ship and everything, but I think it's going to create some dynamics in tactics. And that's what's so interesting about like the design of these things. Rise is doing a really good job of fitting ships into EVE Online that aren't redundant to what's already there when he's designing some of this stuff, or the group is designing this stuff. It's, I think he designs a lot of the stuff and then the group executes it and makes it work, and makes it a reality. But the idea, the construct of the ships coming into the game are don't replace other ships that are already here. We'll create new ships that have their own kind of situational role. But at the same time, you're doing that, you're also changing the behavior of the way people actually fight in all ships. And I think that's what's interesting about these kinds of mechanics. And they can learn from this, like not how popular is the ship. It's not about how popular the ship is. It's about what dynamics changed because of it. Did this make people spread out? Is that something we want? And then they can create more in that area. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this exists, and therefore fleets that don't have it must still account for it. It's not about whether you're flying it. It's about the fact that it's in the game. So this concept of unique weapon systems that have their niche and change the way that people behave has started with disintegrators. Like when the Tech 2 hulls for the Triglavian ships came out, I asked Rise why they made the hull bonus for Tech 2 is additional spool. Like, the Triglavian weapons start at a low damage. Every single time they cycle, they do a little bit more damage per volley until they reach a maximum. And the Tech 2 hull bonus is that maximum is now higher. So you still spool at the same rate. It's just that where the Tech 1 hull stopped, the Tech 2 hull continues spooling. So it spools for another minute or 2 minutes or whatever. So it will eventually reach a higher max, but it takes the same amount of time. I asked why the bonus was more spool time instead of same spool ceiling but faster spool, and the answer was because then they'd just be like every other gun, and I don't want that. I want them to be different. So this has been the goal since disintegrators, and this kind of follows in that vein.
Yeah. Well, cool. There's some other things that are coming soon that are just huge changes to EVE Online. And one of them is the ability to log into a different character without leaving the game, essentially, without logging out or without turning off the game. And that is something
this is huge. Oh, I can show that. I'm on Singularity.
Yeah, let's try that. You don't mind?
So when you hit escape, you now have quick game and log off. Just like that.
Hold on, try that again. I'm going to go close up so people can actually read it. Where's that button? Log off right in the middle there.
Yeah. So right next to quick game, we now have log off, and the tooltip says log off back to character selection. And then when you click it, you get, do you really want to log off and return to the character selection screen now?
Which you can suppress.
And that's it. Yeah, you could suppress that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Takes you right back to your characters. And you can get
log
back
right
in.
back on in.
How fast is that? Yeah, that's much quicker.
Yeah. So I like the I like the polarity between these ships and the trick ships. These guys, I actually, Signal mentioned something that I did forget. These ships are slow. These are not fast ships. I'll show you the cruiser. So with max skills and an A-type 10MN, I'm doing 700 meters per second. That is not very fast. I put Tech 2 prop. I'm doing 630. So these are given range and they're slow.
Micro warp drive?
Yeah, someone wants to see a micro warp drive. Let's see. I mean, obviously it's going to be fast with a micro warp drive. But if you compare it to other cruisers might be even faster. Also, as you can see, now I have grid concerns. The moment I put on a micro warp drive, I'm over 100 grid under. And that's because I got a large battery on there, and I'd have to change that. So that's the Edencom ships, folks. That's what they do. That's what they look like. That's what they feel like.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. That was a nice tour. Got an idea of what these things look like. I wonder if they're going to be popular. I think they're very interesting. And I know I sound like Apple when I say like can't wait to get it in your hands kind of thing, but I can't wait to see what people do with this ship because I get the feeling like we're going to see some things that we didn't think about.
So that's my bit of content for now.
Thanks, man. Any last questions before we sign off? Been on for. They will blob case closed. I don't know. What do you think? Remember, these are friend or foe, so
yeah.
Don't know if you blob with these.
I think there's going to be a lot of funny stories coming out of these weapons. What do you think?
I think that's what I'm looking forward to. It's like how I blew up the guy behind me when I was aiming at like my enemy in front of me. So that'll be pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, no, Pyromancer says blobby game. I don't know. I think they're trying very hard to get away from blobs. They're moving in that direction. The behavior is, and you're seeing it play out in real life too, not to bring that back in for too long a point, but there is power in numbers, and that's just a natural thing. So I think what they try to do with designing ships is they try to create roles and unique opportunities to coordinate with other players and create some diversity in the type of ships that you want to take, the type of role you want to play, the type of gameplay you want to distinguish yourself with. But it's hard when the natural tendency is for everybody to get more and more and more of the same thing and to do what seems to be working. It's a very difficult prospect. So blobbing is natural. People do it. There's safety in numbers. There's power in numbers. And I think the designers have their task cut out for them to figure out how to make other things valuable, but not so valuable that you just blob with that new technique.
Yeah, they don't want there to be an apex strategy.
Yeah. Well, it's getting there. It's kind of interesting. I really am looking forward to seeing what stories come out. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right. We'll leave it there because we've been on for an hour. I want to tell you tomorrow we're going to have a great show with Carneros Elise, the gang, on Talking in Stations. It'll be at, I believe it's 1700 UTC now. And we're going to have, I think one of the people we'll have is Sully here, who just basically picked up 4 trillion in loot. There was a PC Gamer article written about him yesterday, him and his crew. And so we'll get to the bottom of that tomorrow on TIS. Also, are there other announcements that we need to make for CCP? Do they have anything this weekend? Look on their channel, CCP TV. I think that is twitch.tv/CCP, and see what they're up to.
Yep.
They're doing some great stuff.
Oh, there's actually on the game launcher. There's a button that says CCP TV streams 6th through 12th of June schedule. Literally, go to your launcher, click the schedule button. It tells you everything they've got.
Yeah. Then later this month, you'll see this event come in that'll usher in these new ships and some other content as well. Oh, really interesting. And we didn't get to cover this, but we're going to do a special program on it as well. New Project Discovery coming. That is when actual science is mixed into the science fiction game that we play. So you can actually help by, I think the first one was identifying proteins. The second Project Discovery was identifying exoplanets. And this time it is identifying COVID characteristics, I think. So we'll find out more about that when it happens. Turn the web back on here. And then finally, I want to say thanks very much for watching us today, and also for hanging out with us over the I want to say it's been a year, I forget, almost a year since we've been doing these daily streams. If you want to help Talking in Stations, I would say push the subscribe button, but sorry, I'm getting choked up. This is obviously the part I'm not very practiced at, but we have a Patreon.com/Matterall. If you find us anywhere to review, give us a review. I'm losing my voice, so we got to go. I think somebody's trying to tell me something. We will see you next time.